All right, Astros fans. Well, it kind of looked like the Astros had just finally turned the tide with a big series win over the Rangers, and then the Braves series happened. Third series that we've been swept. We'll go ahead and cover those two series, plus the two series coming up, and we'll get into more Astros talk on this episode of the Juice Box Heroes.
What's up, everyone? You're listening to the Juice Box Heroes podcast. I'm one of your hosts, PK. Please don't forget to follow us on Facebook. Leave a message, comment, like any of the posts that we have. Ask us a question. We'll cover here on the podcast. I'm joined always by the one person that you know and love, the Dubon fan club leader, Chris. What's going on, man?
Oh man, I feel like a broken record now because it seems like every time we do this show, it started off good and then it ended bad.
Yeah,
Um, they play with our emotions, thinking that we're turning the tide after we took that series against the Rangers, actually here at home, which was a little surprising, unlike how everything went down last year. And then the Braves came to town, and they just looked like a completely different team. So it's two steps forward, three steps back, and how do we get us back on track? PK, how you doing, man?
look, man, I these guys really pissed me off. It's really hard to watch. I'm glad that today is an off day, so I don't have to watch them lose, and I don't have to get my heart rate up. You know, it's crazy how bad this well the record is. I mean, look, they were playing some good ball against the Braves. I mean, they were leading. I want to say all three games late in the game, right? I mean, they should have won two, if not swept the Braves, to be honest with you. It's just so difficult to watch them right now. I know there's a lot of baseball still to play. I mean, hell, it's barely April the 19th, right? So we've got a ton of baseball. But look, it is hard to watch these guys and hard to not be pissed off with the product that's out there. We like you said, we get shelled that first game against the Rangers last Friday, and then we make a comeback, and you're like, okay, well, look, we lost, yeah, but we put up a fight. We came back, and then Saturday and Sunday we handed to them. So coming into that series with the Braves, I'm thinking, man, like we're getting on track. Our bats came alive, the pitching looked good, and then we just pee down our leg in the later parts of the game. So it's thank God there's a lot more baseball to play because right now I'm pretty furious with the team.
Yeah, it's going back to it's just it's hard to win baseball games when you're consistently one or two for 13 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, it's not a
Um,
good formula.
it's not. And again, what makes it even more frustrating is that they're not killing the ball with runners in scoring position. But you go back all the way to opening day in that series against the Yankees. That's three games out of four that you had the ability to win that game.
Oh
Two
yeah,
games in it versus the Braves here that you had the ability to win the game. So you're looking at a potential 5 game swing where instead of looking at 6-14, you're 11-9. And then
yeah.
at this point, everybody's kumbaya, oh, it's okay. This Astro starts slow anyway. But, it's just, it's just, again, I'm at the point right now where I don't think we've earned the right to have the moniker for this season being relentless. I think the new moniker
Correct.
needs to be, until we've earned it right now, I think the new moniker needs to be consistently inconsistent, because that
Yeah, I like
is
it.
pretty much what they've been all year. It's either the bats put up 10 runs, everybody's happy, or the pitching blows it in the first inning, or the bats are, meh, pitching's good, and then the bullpen's like, hey, don't worry, I got it. And then, I mean, the only time so far I've seen this team play a complete game have been the blowouts.
Yeah,
And you can't go into any series or any game thinking the only way we're going to win is if we put up 12 runs. Because, I don't know if anyone's really looked, but batting averages down the entire league are at an all time low. Like pretty much, I since like 1940, maybe 50 something, 60 something. the batting averages or the league batting average hasn't been this low. So, going into that mindset of we're going to put up 10 plus runs, yeah, that's going to find yourself 6-14. So,
And look,
yeah,
when the postseason comes, you're not going to be scoring 10 plus runs every game. Those games are going to be so tight that your pitching from starting pitching to the bullpen has to be on point every single pitch. One pitch can lose you the game or the series. So you've got to win 2-1 games, 3-2 games, 1-0 games, whatever it is, right? Close games. So the mindset, and I know it's not a mindset. I know they don't have the mindset of going in, oh, we're about to drop 12 on these guys, but thinking that that formula is gonna work. Where look, when we score 10 plus runs in a game, I'm happy. However, I know or feel like the next game, shit, we might score one run. Like it's a high and a low the whole time, right? So it's consistently inconsistent is a perfect perfect name for what's been going on, because they are consistently inconsistent. You never know what you're going to get from the starting pitching. I mean, look at Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown got shelled against the Royals, but then comes out his next start and throws 6 innings, right, and holds the Braves down. So, I mean, consistently inconsistent is beautiful. It's a good one.
yeah. I mean, and all three of the pitchers in that series pitched well. Arrighetti pitched well. I
Yeah, he
mean, he
did.
kind of got boned by Pena in that second inning with that
On the
error.
twirl and throw.
Yeah, I mean, because when I look at that play, I mean, the first thing I look at, okay, I see Abreu, do a belly flop, nowhere, not even coming close to where the ball's at. But then the next thing I look at is how far that runner is from first base. And it wasn't like you had Ronald Acuna running to first base.
Right.
I mean, the runner probably had another 4 or 5 steps before he got to first base. So, and I understand the momentum's taking him that way. I mean, but I kind of felt bad for Arrighetti on that one because that was another 15 to 20 pitches that he had to throw that inning to get out of that inning.
Yeah.
So you're looking at potentially instead of him going 4, maybe he goes 5. And maybe just that one extra inning of not having to use your bullpen, maybe, and at this point, it's insert this bullpen guy that gives up 4 runs. And, I mean, it's just,
Well,
you try to find the
Acuna
answers.
Acuna saw 22 plus pitches just alone from Arrighetti. I mean,
Yeah.
Acuna made Arrighetti work every at bat. So
Well, I mean, he's
the
a
Ar-
stud. He's going to make
I
you
mean
work.
oh yeah, but I mean he does do. I mean, look, he made him work, and then when he does that, like those plays that Pena had, like we have to make those. And look, easier said than done, but they are professionals. That's their job. Make the plays. So
Yeah.
look, I think the starters they did good, man. Like they did what they were supposed to. I mean, we just pissed down our leg again in the later parts of the game, and errors at first base. Oh my god!
I was waiting for you. I was waiting for this one.
It,
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'll hear you first so that I can
Okay.
just take a breath and then we'll go.
Okay. So I'm assuming you're referring to the Abreu play at first, or the lack of play at first base.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm with you. However, I will start with this: is that when I first saw it, uh, it's a good thing my kids weren't around. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when I saw the replay, one, that was a pretty nasty hop it took at the last second.
Look,
However,
in all fairness, it had some English on it.
yeah. However, as you this is what I tell my boys, on the little league team at first base. If you can't catch the ball or field it, then you do whatever you can to keep that ball in front of you, right?
Facts.
Again, easier said than done. However, people could be like, well, Chris, can you do it? And, well, the Astros aren't paying me $18 million a year to do that. So
Facts again.
that's all I'm saying. I mean, maybe if they did, yeah, you would see me belly flop, and try to stop that ball. I mean, in reality, I don't know how hard that ball was hit. And like I said, I'll give him a slight minor pass because of that nasty bounce it took at the end. But still, you
Yeah.
got to keep that in front of you. You got to keep that in front of you. Um, yeah. So yeah, I
It's
mean that.
it's it's so painful to watch. Like, it's so like, when it goes, and it goes fast, and that's probably what the shittiest part about it is, I was looking at a Braves, career stats, from he was 14 from 14 till now, right? And I was kind of looking at his batting average, and like he only had a couple of seasons where he was under 250, right? I mean, this guy's been like pretty freaking clutch, pretty clutch. I mean, his career
Yeah.
batting average is two. I think it was 284. I think it's his career batting average. That includes his .078 right now, his 4 for 51 right now. But defensively, like, if you're not gonna hit the damn ball, catch the ball. Be a vacuum down there. Right now, he's doing neither.
Yeah.
So not only are you being our 2024 version of Martin Maldonado at the plate, you're not even helping us on the field. You're extending innings.
I
You're,
mean, at
you're
this point, not to cut you off, at this point, I'll take 2023 Martin Maldonado because at least he almost hit 200. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true.
this he's not even hitting 100. So go ahead.
No, it's just look, man. It's really painful to watch. I don't understand how the guy is still out on the on the baseball field every day or in the lineup. I don't care that a spot has moved him down the lineup. Like, right now, put Singleton in every day and just see what the hell happens. And if I have to hear the reason why he's in there is because of the back of his damn baseball card one more time, I think I might go insane.
Yeah,
Last time I checked, back of the baseball card didn't mean you know what to
yeah.
actually playing the game.
Well, I mean, at some point you have to think that on some of your, I mean, like you look at some of these guys that are off the slow starts, Bregman. You know, I mean, the phrase "look at the back of the baseball card." I mean, it's tough. I mean, because I mean, do I think Bregman's gonna hit 250 or whatever he's doing? Probably not. I mean, he's probably gonna be about anywhere from a 270, maybe 280, around there. That's probably where he'll be. I mean, but it's hard to justify him getting any more at bats when you have problems catching up to an 88-mile-an-hour fastball.
Oh,
I
you saw that?
mean,
You
oh
saw the
yeah,
graph on that, dude? Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
I mean, and I get it. I mean, could I hit 88? No. You want to know why? Because I don't get paid to hit 88. I mean, maybe I could hit 40. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that, like you said, it sucks. But when it goes, it goes. And I think what we're seeing is it hopping on that first flight out of here. I mean,
Yeah, no, for sure.
um, and again, it's just, I mean, it sucks because you're seeing it unfold. The excuse again last year is, oh, his back was jacked up. Okay,
Hmm.
well, from what I understand, he went into this season, back is fine. Maybe he's just old, I mean, but like the problem is that they have so much money invested in him. I guess they feel like they're forced to force feed him at bats. I mean, and I get it that the only way you're going to get out of a slump is by taking at bats. I mean, but like there is nothing, it's one thing if you're over 10, but your next 5 at bats, maybe you don't get a hit, but you're hitting rockets. Okay, so eventually those are going to start falling. You're going to start seeing
Yeah,
the flip side. But it seems like every time this man hits, when he does make contact, it's like little bloop bouncers. They're slow ground. I don't see any hard hit balls off of his bat. That's what is the most concerning part because it'd be one thing if he's hitting line drive outs. Okay. All right. That means it's coming. He's on track. He's on the ball. He's seeing the ball good. But I'm not
I
seeing
think
that with him.
I said posted something on Twitter over the weekend about his two hit game, and it was like, don't let the two hit game fool you. Like, this guy is not broken out of his whatever the hell you want. It's not even a funk. It's just a thing. Like, don't let the two hit game, fool you. Like, this guy can't hit. He's slow at the plate. I mean, it's evident if you look at the pitches that he misses, the speed of him. Like, he looks foolish. So I was pumping Loperfido for a long time. I've been pumping Loperfido. Like, come on, get this guy up, right? And yeah, dude, he is mashing down in Sugarland. He's got 10 bombs. He had a 3 home run game here, excuse me, a couple days ago, a few games ago. Um, but let's see. So right now, I looked up his stats today 19 for 64. Okay. 26 of those, 26 strikeouts, though. He's still
Yeah,
striking out more than he's
that's the
hitting.
big thing that's gonna keep him down.
So that is exactly so. Yeah, I've been saying get Loperfido up, get Loperfido up. Yes, like the dude's mashing in AAA. But do you want to bring a guy up and have him strike out more times than he's hitting up here at this level? I mean, look, I think and I hope to God that we're not to the point later on the season where we're not fighting for anything. But that's the time that you bring up these September call ups, like we used to do, in the mid 2010s, right? The 2000s when we were terrible. We'd bring up those September call ups to see what we have in young guys. But right now, he needs to stay down and keep working on his approach, his vision. But you've got nothing. You've got no one to replace Abreu at first. Singleton, a little bit better. It's really tough to watch. And I think that if the record was a little bit better, if our record was a little bit better, we could probably stomach Abreu's uh, extremely slow start or all this crap that he's not doing. I think we could probably stomach it a little bit better. But right now, the entire team's struggling offensively. We're inconsistent with our offense, with the bullpen. So now it's just more glaring, where you have just a consistent out at the bottom and it's an ugly out. Like at least Maldonado, like hit the ball, even though he got out, at least he hit the ball.
Yeah, I mean, and where I kind of sit on that is that you know I don't think you should wait till September. I mean, I think that if you're in mid May and a Braves average is still below 150, right? And I mean, and I'm talking like this. It has to be. I mean, this is more than a good chunk of like information as far as at bats stuff like that. I mean, why wait to September? I mean, if Loperfido over the next, let's say, the next month, can bring
Yeah.
his strikeout rate down, right? Because that's the thing, and that's the thing with these hitters these days. It's either they're so feast or famine that like you look at some of these hitters 3-4 years ago that teams were okay with them striking out 270 times because they
Look,
hit
Kobe
40 home
Rasmus.
runs. Yeah, I mean, so there's going to come a point where he's going to force himself out of this lineup. I mean,
Yeah.
like if there's going to be any light at the end of the tunnel, right? Then you have to you can't let this linger on because it's not. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not just Abreu. Like you look at what Diaz is doing. Yeah, Diaz, another close to 300 hitter, but all of his hits are coming when there's no one on base, or maybe there's a
Yep.
guy at first. All of his home runs this year are all solo home runs. You look at Pena
Mm-hmm.
too. Pena, the majority of his hits are either no one's on base or a guy's at first. I mean,
First. Yep.
so like even if you look at some of these other guys, these more prominent names in the lineup. I mean, they maybe outside of Altuve and Jordan. I mean,
Jordan.
really,
Yeah.
most of these guys are doing their damage when no one's on base. I mean, we
Yeah.
must
That's
lead the
fair.
league in solo home runs. I mean, if like if I had the time to look it up, I'm sure we're at least top five in solo shots, and that's not going to win you games. Like even if you look at that game that we lost, that last game against Atlanta. I mean, yeah, you look at wow, 4-0. We got one run that we scored with runners in scoring position. All the rest solo home runs. And when your offense struggles, like it's been struggling, because it seems like about once every 5 or 6 games they have a blowout. And like I said, we have a series coming up, which is kind of gonna. It makes me concerned for the pitching staff. We've got 2 games coming up in a couple weeks against Colorado, and it's in Mexico City, where
Mm-hmm.
every game that's been played there has been like 14 to 11, 14 to 10, 15 to this. So, yeah,
I
I mean,
know.
like, and so, as much as Abreu is so easy to just pile crap on, as far as like the way he hasn't been doing much of anything lately, Like the whole rest of the lineup needs to take responsibility. I mean, you still have Chaz McCormick's hitting under 200. You've got Jake Myers hitting under 200. I mean, so you have, I don't even, is Greg Kessinger still on this roster? I don't even
Yeah,
know.
he's there.
I
He
mean,
covered for Bregman when he was out sick.
yeah, he's hitting under 200. I think he's hitting under 100. I don't think he's got a hit yet this season.
I don't
So
think so.
there's five guys on this as far as the hitter side of this roster that's hitting under 200. And that's not a recipe. Since we're talking about recipes and consistently inconsistent, that's not a recipe for a winning baseball club. Is having that many guys that you, at least as of this small sample size, 20 games. In the thick of things, 20 games means nothing. But again, you can't win a World Series in April, but you can put yourself so far behind that you can lose one. So, and that's hopefully what we're trying to avoid. And, as we get into the series, next couple series that we have coming up, at least on paper, we have the ability to kind of get back to where we normally are as far as maybe a few games under 500 come the end of April.
Yeah, and I felt the same way about that. Like you said, we've got the national series coming up, starting today, which we'll get to some actual good news, here in a minute. But I strongly felt that when we played the Royals, we should have taken 2 out of 3. Prior to the series starting. So I felt like it was reasonable to say, hey, we can take 2 out of 3 from these guys and or sweep them, and get us back at that point to, I think it would have made us 6-8 if we took 2 out of 3, or 7-7 if we swept them. So Nationals on paper, if we're playing paper v paper, we should sweep these guys. But you never know, man. It comes down to pitching and hitting. It's pretty fundamental stuff. So good news is JV does take the hill tonight.
Yeah, you.
First start of the season. So we'll see what old JV's got in store for us. Looking forward to seeing him on the mound.
Yeah, and on paper, this is a very dangerous game to play on paper. I mean, because on paper, we should be, you know, 12-8, maybe,
Yeah,
maybe around
yeah,
there, 11-9. But this is a team that's still, pretty, knee deep in their rebuild as far as, you know, they should be a very, very winnable series. They do have some, they do have some up and coming good players. They got a really good young catcher. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, their pitching is still pretty young and they're going to make mistakes. And, in a
the
perfect
kids
world,
say sus. The kids say
yeah,
sus these days.
yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of the perfect storm of a series that your bats can wake up, build some confidence and go into this following series against Chicago, a team that's not playing bad. But I don't,
Hmm.
as far as on paper, I don't think they quite match up to the Astros as far as the pitching staff, the lineup, and stuff like that. You can ride that momentum into this series against Chicago. However, these guys have to play the game.
Hmm.
The games aren't decided on paper. So, there is some hope, with JV coming back. And from what I understand, the 23rd, I believe, is the update we got for Fromber coming back. So that'll get, I mean, like pretty much there's been a one-way express in and out of Houston's clubhouse the last week with
Yeah.
all the guys getting called up, sent down, called up, sent down. So hopefully with them coming back, that'll provide a lot of stability to that rotation, that bullpen. And, like I said, maybe, we have a good chunk of games coming up where hopefully on paper we can do some damage and crawl back into the mix. But clearly the saving grace in all this is the AL West has been so much hot garbage to start of the season that we're only like 4 games out of first place. So
And you kind of stole my thunder with that, because that's exactly what I was going to say. Was if you're early standings guy, we're still in the mix for the division. I mean, everyone in the division is playing like shit. I mean, like the Rangers um, lost 2 of 3 to the A's like a series ago. I know they won yesterday against the Tigers, but I think they lost the day before. So everyone's playing like hammer dog. You know what? So we still are in this division early on. it just takes a little run for us to get on. And Spada, I'm sorry, Dana Brown says, "Hey, here soon we're going to win like 8 to 10 in a row," and maybe it starts now. So we get some of our pitching guys back. Maybe this break that Fromber had, uh, helps him out with his control. Gives them a little bit of rest. I mean, look, the guys, the team's been playing. They hadn't had an off day. I think 14 days. I think at least, right? Something crazy. Um, this the day of travel yesterday definitely gave them a little bit of help. Um, when do you start to hit the panic button, Chris? Like when is there true panic coming in? Because like, look, I'm not there yet. I'm not there for true panic. But when you after you play a month of ball at the let's just say they stay consistently inconsistent the rest of the month, right? And we go into May, just kind of with whatever the record is. I don't have the exact number of games remaining yet, right? But there has to be
You
there has to be a point early on where you're like, shit, man. Like I think this might be kind of how it's going to be. Now, granted, we haven't had our full starting rotation here yet, so let's see what that's going to do. I mean, that has to give some kind of morale boost to say, hey, at least we're getting JV back. Fromber's coming back. You know, so far we've got a Jim and Rennell, right? The dude is freaking nails. Like, he didn't go deep like he did in his last outing, but like the dude has dominated, when he's pitched. So, is that when do you think, or hopefully there's not, but when do you start getting like, oh shit, like this might be the, panic mode?
Well, I mean, for me, I'm definitely we're 20 games in. We've got another, 9 games left in April, and then you've got 5 full months of baseball afterwards. So, like for me, I mean, like, again, I know at first I said if this team gets 10 games under 500, that's kind of when I'm going to start saying, okay, some changes need to happen. Um, I mean, I agree. I mean, Renault Blanco has been a miracle, pretty
Oh yeah,
much. And I don't need Renault Blanco to go 7, 8 innings. I mean, if we can get back on track, 6 innings, 3 or less earned runs should be more than enough to get you a victory. Um, I
should
do
be.
think, I do think eventually Hader will get out of this funk. Um, I think Presley will get out of this funk too. I mean, but if I had to say, okay, if I have to pick, when I would start to say, okay, all right, Houston, we have a problem, and not in a good way. I would probably say, if they're still struggling like this at the end of May, and we're still looking at being anywhere from still 8 to 10 games under 500, and we have to win games 10-1, and we're still the bottom barrel of the league in all the offensive categories of hitting with runners and scoring position, then I'm thinking we're entering June, and you're starting to field phone calls for trades. That's kind of where I would start saying, okay, clearly it wasn't in the mojo for this to go down, but I mean, now if they're 5 games under 500 and they're still within 5 games of first place, then you're still going for it. There's no reason, I'm not going to be that guy that I've read, so many times that 20 games in, let's tear everything down, trade Altuve, trade all these guys, and let's just start the rebuild. I don't think you need to rebuild. I think if anything, if this season continues to happen the way it happens, I definitely think you need some type of retooling. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
But I would say if we're entering June and we're still 8 to 10 games under 500, and there's not really any visible signs of there's a corner about to be turned, then I'm thinking, okay, this trade deadline's going to be pretty interesting because because clearly, if we're still 8 to 10 games, because here's what you have to think too, because like you still got the Rangers, all of their top tier or their upper tier of their pitching is all coming back in July, right? So what would be frustrating is that you have a completely diminished starting rotation with the Rangers. So you had a chance to completely come running out of the floodgates, bury them by
Yeah, early.
July to where they have to place, 600, 700 ball just to, stay, with us. And you squandered that opportunity. So I would say probably anywhere between the beginning of June, mid June, if this team is still looking like it's looking now, then I'm saying, okay, now I'm going to start putting together my list of guys I could potentially flip that will get us right, maybe not right back on track to where we were the last 7 years, but definitely somewhere that we can build upon instead of, looking at, these prospects that, yeah, they're number one in our system, but in any other system, they would be like their seventh or eighth best
Yeah,
prospect. So, and again, that goes to, our system's depleted for multiple reasons. When you're a contender, you're always depleting your farm system to add arms for the postseason run. And then
yep.
again, not having the first and second round picks 2 years in a row. I mean, that killed us. I mean, we looked at that last week at the potential names that could be Astros coming up through the system. So,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
depressing.
yeah. I mean, so I would say if probably between early June and mid June, then you're laying the groundwork of how you're, for the first time in a long time, we're going to be sellers at the deadline. So,
Yeah, I was thinking mid June, right? I mean, obviously, the front office is not going to wait till mid June to start kicking over rocks and making calls and stuff. But I think come mid June, depending on the record, I mean, you're going to have a fairly good sample size by then, right? I mean, you're going to have half the season ish, right? Or 2.5 months, 3 months of stats to analyze and see. Look, this is probably where we're going to be, so that when July, like you said, the deadline comes, we got to figure out what we're doing. Buying, are we selling? So it would be really crappy if this was the year to do it. I mean, I think any year is really crappy, but I don't think anyone, if that were to happen, I don't think anyone anticipated, this year, this team to be that, right? So, like we said before, thank God we got more baseball to go. Let's get the hell out of the month of April. Like start over in May, and let's play some winning damn baseball. We talked about Hader. I read a stat on him that he's allowed already the same amount of
that's
runs this year than he has all of last year in 61 games. And I don't know, obviously I don't know because I don't play baseball, right? But I wonder what the mentality is when you sign that big contract. I would assume there's a lot of pressure, right? And then he wanted long term contracts at the place in San Diego, didn't get it. In Milwaukee, didn't get it, right? So he's been wanting this long term deal. Like he's got the security of a long term contract. So like he knows he's going to be here for 5 years. I mean, that's the goal at least, right? So I just don't understand, like why all of a sudden the guy can't get the outs that he was getting. I mean, what like I don't know what's changed. I mean, like it's just hard to fathom. And the Presley thing, I'm not 100% sure if the fact of bringing in Hater has something to do with it. I mean, it has to have something to do with it, right? I mean, it's got to
no,
have
I
like
agree.
all of a
I agree.
sudden this guy can't go from nails to like not nails. I mean, he's getting so much traffic that it's frustrating and it's sad to see at the same time. Almost like it's starting to go, and I hope to God it's not because I mean he's been so good for us in the postseason, been clutch. But to see him struggle the way he is, it's just like, damn, man, like this is terrible. And don't even get me started on the other Abreu. The freaking Abreu brothers are terrible. I mean, both of them.
Well, I mean, it's frustrating, and I get the point of the overreactors is what I call them. Because even though we are accustomed to the slow start, I don't think anybody anticipated this. I mean,
No, not at
because
all.
I would have seen this more coming last year with Altuve out of the lineup and all the injuries that we had going into last year. But I
Who
mean,
helped saved? Who helped saved?
I
Who helped save the season though? Who
think it was
replaced
I
Altuve?
think it was Corey Jokes.
Yeah, it was not Cordros. Just say
I
it.
think it was Greg Kissinger. but
It was not great chemistry.
but I mean, it's frustrating because Presley doesn't look like the Presley that we've all come to endear. He
Yeah.
just he looks like a complete version. It's like I texted you like earlier in the season. I was like, man, it looks like bringing Hader in messed him up mentally.
Uh-huh.
And I get it. Presley's like, listen, I don't care when I pitch. If it brings us closer to win another ring, whatever. And that's a fantastic way to look at it. I mean, because if they're talking Presley, maybe, I would assume, we're all men, we all have egos, as far as in the majors. So if you're the guy who closed out, game 6 of the World Series of 2022 that secured us a second World Series, you have that ego about you. And then they start talking about Hater. It's like, well, dude, I've carried the back end of this bullpen the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I I shut down Game 6 of the World Series. I closed that game out, and now we're talking about Hater. And I mean, I get it as far as, I mean, that's top tier when it comes to
Yeah.
closers. But you look at it now with the struggles that he's having, and it's just, did we need another closer? I don't know. I mean, maybe, you know, but it seems like this entire back end, our big three, I mean, they look like,
Like they've never pitched. Like
yeah,
they've never pitched.
Abreu will go off and he'll have two, he'll have a bad outing and everyone's ready to crap on him. Then he'll have two good outings and you're like, all right, fantastic. Old Abreu's back. And then he comes back and says, nope, not the old Abreu.
Yeah,
This is
just
its new
kidding.
version. And it's just like, and that's the thing. I mean, like, it's been a perfect storm of hammered crap where, you have to, you feel like you're in a corner where you have to use Hater just to keep the game close, where Hater's normally used to coming in and holding it down,
Yeah.
which, I mean, like, he really hasn't done that when he's had the
You can't
opportunities.
even do that right now. Yeah.
I mean, so, like, I don't know if it's just, I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, like, but I'm not on team, let's blame it all on Espada. I'm not on team, it's Dana Brown's fault, because if you've been paying attention to any of these games or any of the articles that have come out, there's clearly some type of committee that Crane has where, when you bring in a GM, you're giving him the reins, right? Especially a guy that was as highly touted. And I know we've talked about this before, but I'm
Yeah.
tired of freaking reading it. Oh, Dana Brown is hot garbage. I'm like, dude, he's not. He's just not allowed to do his job the way he's supposed to do his job, right? I mean, if I hire you on and say you're my general manager,
Hmm.
however, if you have an idea, this group of four other people have to agree on it 100%, or it's
Yeah.
not going to happen, then I'm not giving you what you need to do your job,
Well, it
right?
handcuffs you.
Yeah, it does. I mean, because like, every decision is almost kind of like a vote that has to be taken. So
And I
maybe the
assume you're
vote.
talking about the Reggie Jackson thing where he came out and
Oh yeah,
said,
the Reggie Jackson thing.
they were talking about Blake Snell, and Reggie said, "Hey, look, we don't play that game because there's a
Yeah,
committee, and
yeah. I mean, because, like, like, he sounded like the guy who was interested in a girl, and then she didn't give him her number. So now he thinks of all the things that are wrong with her, which is why he didn't want her number to begin with.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what he sounded like. And then listening to Bagwell in the Ranger series, and like,
that guy, that
we
guy.
talked about this outside, and he's really tarnishing the Bagwell I grew up on.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
you hear him, and he's just like, "Yeah, I mean, the Astros need to do this, they need to do that," and I'm just sitting here like, "Man, you're part of the reason why we're in this situation. You're
yeah,
part of the reason why Abreu's at first base. I mean, so it's just tough. It's like if if you and I were working on a job and I left, and then I commentated on how hard of a time you're having, then it's
yeah,
like I'm the reason why you're having this hard of a time.
right.
So yeah, I mean, like, so, like, it's easy to try to point the finger at one person. Singleton gets a lot of hate. I don't know why. Granted, I'm not saying he's an all-star first baseman. I'm not saying he's above average first baseman. What I am saying, people are dogging on him like he's hitting 086, and he's got a higher batting average than three of the guys that are almost everyday players. He's
That's
got the
true.
same. He's got the same average as Bregman. And to pour, even more, truth serum on this, Tucker only has his batting average is only 9 points higher. Now, again, I'm not saying Singleton's going to have better stats than Kyle Tucker. What I'm saying is, again, for the second week in a row, I don't know why Singleton's getting all this hate. At least the man can draw walks. I'll give him that.
Yeah, it's like Moneyball. He gets on base. Like the
I
guy will get on
mean,
base. Not
he's
all
hitting
the time,
250. He's hitting
but more than
250.
Abreu.
I mean,
And look, he's a decent club down there. I mean, it can't be any worse than Abreu unless you put nobody there, you know. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's a crazy time where everybody's looking for someone to take the blame of why we're in the situation, and the easy answer is it's everybody's fault.
hell yeah, it is.
So, but like I said, man, we've got two series coming up, especially the series starting tonight and this weekend.
Yep.
That at least on paper we can right the ship, and if we can right the ship again, Washington, you know, again they're in the middle of a rebuild, right? There may be like on step 3. They're not even at the point where they're calling up their big prospects yet. So this is the weekend. You go in there, you bitch slap them, let them know, and then hopefully we're not talking about this next week about how we dropped 2 or 3 or we got swept.
Look, we might
So
need a longer episode if that happens, dude. I'm telling you right now.
yeah, I mean, but this is crying. This is crying for this is the series you come in and you take out all the frustrations on a young baseball team. If there's ever a series, it's this series coming up. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
one
man,
hundred
I
percent.
heard you got some more stuff for us for this episode. What you got?
Yeah,
Something about
so I was just kind of thinking, man. I was just like, who do I trust on this team? You know, with all the crap we've been talking about, all the inconsistencies from opening day to now, and the ups and downs. I kind of sat back and I was like, man, like who is in my circle of trust? Like who do I trust on this team that every day, every game is going to come out and they're going to do their thing, they're going to ball. And so I came up with my list, man. I've got 6 guys on my list.
wow.
So,
Okay. All right.
which is actually kind of shocking. One of them was like a fringe guy. He was a fringe guy, but given what he's been called to do, and it's not his typical job to do, but he's come in and held his own, was why I added him. I added him late. So
Is it Forrest Whitley?
it is absolutely Forrest Whitley.
I,
So you already
I
fixed
knew
it.
it.
You already fixed the
Yes.
last one. So
Yes.
let's start off with the obvious ones. Okay. Altuve, I trust the guy. The guy does his thing, right? I mean, he does. Jordan, I don't know. I don't need to say anything else,
Yeah.
right? I trust Tucker. Doesn't matter if he's 9 points higher than Singleton. Like, he's coming around. He's going to do his thing. Yanier Diaz. Look, anything is better than Maldonado, but like, you were throwing out those little tidbits of info about his home runs and his hits. They're coming and not clutch situations. Not that they're not clutch, right? But when you have guys on base, like you want to see him produce with guys on base. However, I still trust the guy to come out and do his thing, game in and game out.
Okay.
Now to the pitching. The only one I trust right now is Ronel Blanco. I'll just be honest with you. Like that's it from the starting rotation at least.
Okay.
Eh, Okay, so and my 6th guy was a reliever, and this was my fringe guy, but I went ahead and added Seth Martinez into it, man.
Ah, you lied to me. I thought you were going with Forrest Whitley.
Yeah, I pulled a fast one on it, but yeah, Seth Martinez. Look, if you go back to one of our first episodes, I called him Seth Hernandez. Okay, that's how much I
Yeah.
had trust in that guy. So much so that I didn't even know the guy's last name. But the guy's come in and had been asked to do more than what he typically does. And
Okay.
for the most part, he's been nails. Look, he's had a few innings, that gotten out of hand. But the dude's, what was that road trip we just came off of where he pitched an insane amount of innings? That
Oh,
was
that
be
was
like, that
Texas
was
and
be like
KC.
awesome. But still, like Seth had to come in early
Yeah.
to hold us down, and he held it down for us. Now the bats would have done something we could have done, come out with a better outcome. But I'm starting to trust Seth Martinez, man. Like I don't get the full warm and fuzzies when he comes in, but they're a lot better than like, oh God, this guy's in, right? So at least I know this guy can come in and give us some innings and kind of like right the ship for a little bit, at least get us, enough innings to where we're not completely taxing our bullpen. But like I said, man, I threw Seth Martinez into my circle of trust. He is my last guy as of right now. Look, Abreu, he's not even remotely close to the list for obvious reasons. Okay. I didn't even make a outside looking in list because there's so many. I really, like Pena, I want to put the guy in, right? But he can't stay off the low and away slider, right? Like he can't do it. Like he cannot do it. And he knows it's coming. I know it's coming. Like the little kid and the nosebleeds knows it's coming. And again, I'm sure it looks like a fat fastball when it comes, but like your tendency is to swing at low and away sliders. Everybody knows that. They are going to throw that to you. Look at the report. Look at your own scouting report. So, that's just me on my soapbox with him. I'm just saying, and it's kind of a weak list in the sense of they were all pretty much givens on who you were going to take, because, Jordan, Altuve, Tucker, two was it, 1, 2, and 1, 2, and what, three batters, like they're doing their thing, right? Like no one else in our lineup I really trust. Diaz, he's just good. Like he's just freaking good. But Ronell, I mean, Ronell's been the really bright light. I mean, I could have put Javier in there. I guess technically I need to because Javier has been fantastic. Also, I feel like with Ronell, like we weren't expecting that from him, and he's come out and just been straight nails for us. And so I don't not trust Javier. And to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't even think about I didn't think about it until now that I'm talking about it, which makes me sound really stupid. But Ronell for sure, and then reliever. I mean, it's got to be Seth. So I'm curious to see what you think, man, or what you have, or if of what differs. I would assume some of it's going to be the same, but
Yeah, so I kind of misunderstood what you describing. I thought we were talking about as of right now. So
it
when
is
you
right,
said
right, right now.
six, I mean, when you said six, I was kind of shocked. I'm like, man, that's pretty a high number.
It
Um,
is.
as far as like as of current, not being biased right now, I think offensively I have two, and that would be Jordan and Altuve, mainly because the other guys haven't shown me that they can hit the ball with runners in scoring position. So it's
That's
great.
fair.
It's great that yeah. I mean, like it's definitely awesome to have a catcher hit 300. It's awesome about Pena, but I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. It's like, yeah, I can't trust him because anytime he gets two strikes, if any pitcher doesn't throw him a slider down and away, then they deserve whatever happens
That's yeah,
because like, and again, that's not something new. He's struggled with that 3 years now. So it
yeah,
blows my mind how that's not been brought to him and say, hey, dummy, stop throwing at the slider down and away, because
yeah.
they're going to throw it to you. And these sliders aren't even close. They're not even close. They're not like they're a quarter inch off the plate. Like these are like the
In the
Angel
left-hand
Hernandez.
batter box.
They're the Angel Hernandez strike zone sliders. That's how bad they are
Yeah, that's
that
pretty
he's
bad.
whiffing at. So I would go with two as of right now. Now,
Okay.
again, if we're just talking about in general, my list is probably going to match yours. But as of right now, there's two guys that I can look at and be like, okay, something good's about to happen, or there's a really high chance something good can happen. On the pitching side, I would say I would probably go Javier and Blanco. Blanco has been a breath of fresh air
Yeah, he has.
for a rotation that needs some fresh air because it stinks like shit
Oh yeah,
as recently, off and on, inconsistent. Bullpen wise, I was honestly kind of leaning again with Seth Martinez. I mean, he got banged around that first game, but then he's been nails. Yeah, he gave up a couple runs a couple nights ago, but I mean, for the most part, this man has come in and has kind of been an anchor of that bullpen.
yeah. He really has.
He's, like I consistently see him come in and I'm like, oh, which Seth Martinez we're gonna get? And he'll go 2 innings, hang up some zeros, and it's like, okay, you're making it hard for me to dislike you as of right now.
That's true. So
So
true.
so I think I would agree with Seth Martinez. I think he's earned it right now. I mean, but there's plenty of time for him not to earn it anymore. So as of right now, I got two offensive players, two starters, and I agree, giving the nod to Seth Martinez out of the pen. So
Yeah, I like it, and you know what? Like, I want to revisit this, as the season goes on, and maybe monthly. Maybe monthly we'll do the Circle of Trust and see where we're at. Each month and kind of see who we're bringing in and who we're taking out, who we're keeping. Hopefully, we're keeping, and hopefully, we're adding. To be honest
yeah,
with you,
I would
hopefully,
like
we're
for us
adding
to add
guys.
more, but yeah, I mean, it's been rough, man. Up and down, up and down. I don't think I haven't seen really relentless. I haven't seen that.
No, not one time, not one
I
time,
mean,
and it's look. Thank God I've got people like you that I talk to who talk me off the ledge, daily, um, because it's painfully tough to watch when you're used to seeing your team succeed and dominate. Even COVID year when we were not dominating in that fake season, I mean, it was you still knew the team was going to do something. Just get to the playoffs, let them do something, and they did, and they came up one game short, right? But right now, it's just when you're not pitching good, when your bullpen's not good, when you're not hitting with runners in scoring position, like it's just a recipe for the amount of losses that we currently have. So something's got to give. I have all the faith that they will, even though I'm a little salty right now about the season. Like I trust these guys that they will come around, they'll do a thing. But when you watch it, when you watch it day in and day out, like I do, like we do, like most of you guys do that listen, it's incredibly frustrating to watch. So thankfully,
it is.
I got a guy like Chris that I can vent I can vent my baseball frustrations to, and he can tell me, "Hey, man, there's 5 more months of the season to go."
Yeah, I mean, it's just it comes down to the point where it's just like you have to kind of take it as it is. I mean, it would kind of be the equivalent of giving up on the Texans if they start off 0-2 or 0-3. And like if this was, anything else, and maybe it's because and I don't, you know, yes, I've been a fan since '87. I think I was like 4 years old when I really started picking up baseball. But I get it for these guys that kind of left and came back. You're used to being, shown a high quality standard of baseball. And,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, to see them do it the way that they have been doing it, where they look uninspired, they look like they'd rather be anywhere else but there. I mean, you know, it's tough. It's tough to watch. I mean, like you're watching, it's almost like you're watching a bunch of people speeding down the highway. You're just waiting for the car wreck to happen.
that's kind of you're
It's
right.
like,
That's a great analogy because it
and
really is that.
it's like, okay, yeah, we're up 4-2, but how are we going to blow it today?
Yeah,
You know, is it going to be an error that allows the inning to go another six batters, or is it going to be the bottom of the nine, 2 outs, and Hader hangs a slider and they tie the game? So it's just like, I mean, it's yeah.
but
I
see,
mean, it's
I had that feeling. I had that feeling again in one of the Ranger games, like over the last weekend, where we were winning. Obviously, we were winning, but like Hader came in, and like I'm getting anxiety over a game in April. Like, what the hell is about to happen? Like, is this guy going to get him out? Like, it shouldn't matter this early in the season. I mean, yeah, you want to win as many games as you can early on, right? But the level of anxiety that I had that particular inning, because it's the same thing you said. Like, what's going to happen? How are we going to blow this lead? How are we going to, who's going to make the error? Who's going to hang the pitch? Like you said, not that we didn't, obviously, because we won the game, but it's just crazy how this early in the season, like my level of anxiety with these games, like it feels like a postseason game when it's not. So thank God we got more baseball to go though. It's early. Let's get the hell out of April, man. Let's finish up April strong with these next two series. I mean, not that the month's ending in the next two series, but let's get on the right path. Starting tonight, JV's on the bump. Let's get a W. Let's take this weekend series and go on to Chicago and do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, the paper, where again, where Washington is and their rebuild. I mean, they're prime for the picking. You know, they're 8-10 record or whatever their record is. I think it's oh, so going back. Okay, I almost forgot about this. Was the whole point of what I wanted to get in. So for all the people that are ready to jump off the ledge, that are ready to, say tear it down, rebuild, right? This is why I don't really like it's not that I don't put a lot of, you know, exclamation on April. I mean, but we have seen countless amount of times, teams, by the end of June, they're 5, 6 games under 500, 9 games out of a playoff spot, and they make a tweak or two to the roster, and then before you know it, they're making a playoff run. I mean, hell, we just had it happen to us a couple of years ago with the Braves. Now, the Braves, Ronald Acuna got hurt. He was out for the season. They made 2 or 3, and I'm not talking like these guys are all-star additions to their teams. They were guys that were platoon outfielders that they added to their roster, and everything just gelled after that. And what happened? We watched them celebrate a World Series championship on our field. How many times have we seen? I can name you at least 10 off the top of my head. I see a team get off to this amazing hot start. They're 70 games in, they're like 43-26. And then by the end of the season, they were eliminated from the playoffs by like early September. So
Yeah, no,
again,
you're right,
there's
dude.
there's so many examples you could use on both sides of the spectrum. Where I mean, hell, the Astros in 2005 at the All Star break, they were 15 games under 500, and they
I was
ended up
just about
going
to
to the
bring that
World
up.
Series. I mean, so
The tombstone edition of the paper, right? And
yeah,
then they
I
just
mean, I mean, so
it can
like I
happen,
said,
dude. I get it.
there's so much time left. I mean, like you don't even know. I mean, like for all of a sudden, something could happen. Maybe a benches clearing thing goes down within the next 3 or 4 games, and that's just it. Maybe they need to fight each other like in Major League, and it wakes everybody up. And then before you know it, we're looking back at this month and be like, man, you remember when everybody was ready to jump off the cliff and tear the team down and rebuild? And here we are, 9 games in first place. I mean, so
Look, I think
relax.
Tucker might fight this year. I really
I
think he
hope
might
so.
fight. Like,
I
I
hope so.
really think he might fight somebody this year. I mean,
I
because
mean,
that bat, I've never seen so much emotion from the guy like he had when he hit that bomb. Uh, well, I forget it was Sunday or Saturday after they, almost hit Jordan, and he did that bat flip and stare. I mean, that was the Friday game, wasn't it? We were
yeah, I
losing.
think so.
Yeah, but even still, I've never seen that type of emotion out of Tucker ever. So I seriously think I think he might fight somebody this year. Like he
I
might be
mean,
like it'd be cool to see just to see him show like some kind of dog emotion. You know?
I mean, I'm at the point now. Like at some point, one of these teams are going to mess up and they're going to wake up the sleeping dragon, and then we're going to come
Yeah,
back and we're just going to, like I said, and maybe this is just me being, fool's hope or whatever. I mean, but like this team is too good to consistently be 8 to 10 games under 500. I'm telling you, it may not be this series, it may not be the next series, but I've got a feeling that something's going to go down, and these boys are going to wake up and they're going to be like, all right, we gave you guys a chance
yeah,
to
right.
run, and now it's time to now shit's about to get real. So hopefully that's what's about to go down. I mean, but again, relax, take a deep breath. Just remember, we're 20 down, 142 to go.
It's good
So
math.
yeah, I mean, well,
That
it's
was was that
pretty.
was that without a calculator?
Yeah, it was without. That's my San Jacinto South math right there.
Hey, throw it
So
up.
So plenty of baseball to go. I know it's frustrating, but you just gotta say, okay, like you almost gotta, like the stuff we talk about. They go into May, fresh slate. Let's start this month on a good note. You almost kind of have to do the same thing and be like, okay, I would say again, panic button, maybe mid-June. That would be the panic button.
Yeah,
But for
yeah.
now, you're just waiting. You're just waiting for this just giant to wake up. And hopefully it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And again, hopefully you get rid of you get out of you knock out this all the crap that went down, knock that shit out in April, and then you watch teams go through what you went through in September, in late August, and then before you know it, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, now okay, it does suck to go through that. And be like, yeah, but we went through it already, so just got to
Yeah,
stay
no, I agree,
positive,
man.
man. There's too much time left for us to be
A
counting them
lot of
out.
time.
So,
Well, before we get out of here, man, I just want to thank everyone for listening on whatever platform you guys are choosing to listen to us on. Don't forget that you can find us on YouTube at Juicebox Heroes. Make sure you subscribe. We do shorts, weekly shorts, and then of course our episodes drop there on Fridays. Spotify people, thanks for listening to us. Tell your friends, tell them to subscribe and listen. Facebook, always go. You can always go on there and follow us there. We'll post some questions on there that we can interact with you guys. And if you got a question, man, send it in, and we'll cover it on the episode.
and I promise you guys, for real this time, the videos are coming. We are at the point where we're going to start doing the videos. Hopefully by as soon as next episode. We'll see.
Yeah, I need to get a new haircut before we get on the videos.
Yeah, I mean, my hair looks kind of crazy right now. So,
Yeah, yeah, it does.
all right, guys. Well, you guys have a good weekend. Let's go Astros. Let's hope
Let's
the
go.
next time we talk, we've got a lot of positive stuff to talk about. Until then, we'll see you guys around.
Talk to you later.